Carrie was a thoughtful and sensitive 11-year-old who cared deeply about his parents. He was the kind of child who noticed when someone was upset, who offered comfort before being asked, and who carried the feelings of the people he loved close to his heart. He lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood where everyone seemed to know one another. His shoulder-length blonde hair often attracted comments from classmates, but Carrie never paid much attention to them. He liked his hair the way it was, and he had more important things to think about. School was one of his favorite places. He enjoyed learning, and he had built a strong circle of friends over the years. Most of them happened to be girls, but that never bothered him. They shared interests, laughed at the same jokes, and accepted him for who he was. Life felt stable and predictable until the afternoon everything changed. When Carrie arrived home from school, he immediately sensed that something was wrong. The house felt unusually quiet. There was no music playing in the kitchen, no television humming in the background, and no cheerful greeting waiting for him. As he stepped into the living room, he found his mother sitting on the couch with tears streaming down her face. "Mom," he asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Concerned, Carrie hurried over and sat beside her. Without saying a word, he wrapped his arms around her shoulders and held her close. He didn't know what had happened, but he knew she needed comfort. For several long minutes, the room remained silent except for her quiet sobs. Eventually, she took a deep breath and tried to compose herself. "Oh, Carrie," she whispered. "You're such a good boy." "What happened?" he asked. "Why are you crying?" His mother hesitated before speaking. "Your father is gone." The word struck him like a bolt of lightning. "What do you mean?" She looked down at her hands.
"He left."
"He accepted a transfer to another city and moved away today." Carrie stared at her in disbelief. "He didn't even say goodbye?" His mother shook her head.
"No."
The realization hurt more than Carrie expected. His father had always seemed dependable, someone who would always be there. The idea that he could leave without warning felt impossible. Tears filled Carrie's eyes. His mother pulled him into another hug. "We'll be okay," she said, though her voice lacked confidence. "Things are going to be difficult for a while, but we'll get through this together." For the rest of the evening, they worked side by side in the kitchen preparing dinner. It was a simple meal, but the routine helped both of them focus on something other than their worries. As Carrie peeled vegetables and helped clean up, he realized that life had changed in a single day. The future suddenly seemed uncertain. There would be challenges ahead. Money might be tight. There would be difficult conversations and hard decisions. There would be moments when both of them felt overwhelmed. But as he watched his mother carefully place dinner into the oven and force a tired smile, Carrie made a quiet promise to himself. No matter what happened, he would do everything he could to help her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Yet for the first time since arriving home, Carrie felt a small spark of determination. Their family might be broken, but they were still together. And together, they would find a way forward. Carrie slowly rubbed the sleep from his eyes and climbed out of bed. Still groggy, he shuffled toward the bathroom, barely awake. After stepping into the shower, he turned on the hot water and stood beneath the soothing stream until the last traces of sleep faded away. As he reached for his soap, he realized the bar was gone. His shampoo bottle was empty as well.
"Mom."
"I'm out of soap and shampoo," he called from the bathroom. From another room, Fiona answered, "I haven't had a chance to go shopping yet, dear. Just use mine." A small smile appeared on Fiona's face. She secretly enjoyed the idea of Carrie using her floral-scented products. By the time he finished showering, he would smell like fresh flowers. The thought amused her more than she wanted to admit. Carrie shrugged and used the scented soap. At first the fragrance felt strange, but after a few minutes he stopped thinking about it. The shampoo carried the same sweet scent, and by the end of the shower, he barely noticed it. After drying himself with a clean towel, he was startled when Fiona entered the bathroom carrying a container of powder. Carrie quickly grabbed the towel and wrapped it around himself. "Don't be embarrassed," Fiona said. "I've taken care of you your entire life." She held out the powder. "Here, try some. It'll make your skin feel soft." "Mom, boys don't use that stuff," Carrie protested. Fiona laughed. "And who's going to know?" Your father isn't here to complain anymore. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. Carrie hesitated. Since his father had left, many things in their lives had changed. Fiona's words made a certain amount of sense. You know, she continued, you don't have to live by every rule he believed in. After a moment, Carrie nodded. Maybe you're right. Fiona gently dusted the powder across his skin. Well, Carrie touched his arm. It actually feels pretty nice. I told you so. A few minutes later, Fiona returned holding folded clothes. I looked for clean underwear, she explained, but I'm behind on the laundry. Things have been difficult lately. Carrie immediately became suspicious. Mom, those aren't yours, are they? Just look first. She unfolded the garments. The underwear resembled his own briefs, though they were cut slightly differently. The top was a simple white undershirt with a delicate trim around the neckline. They're not that bad, Fiona said. Carrie examined them carefully. I guess nobody would notice. Exactly. Reluctantly, he put them on. The fit felt unusual. The fabric hugged him more closely than he was used to, and he became aware of every detail. It felt strange knowing he was wearing something that had once belonged to his mother. You can keep them, Fiona said casually. Carrie's eyes widened. Keep them? They're too small for me anyway. But what would people think? Fiona crossed her arms. Who's going to know? Right now we need to save money wherever we can. We'll make do with what we have. Carrie looked down at himself and sighed. Life felt completely different now than it had only a few days earlier. Come on, Fiona said. Put your regular clothes over them. You'll forget they're even there. After getting dressed, Carrie followed her to her room. Sit down, she said. I'll brush your hair. He settled onto the stool in front of her dresser. The brush moved slowly through his hair. Long, gentle strokes relaxed him immediately. Before long, his eyes drifted shut. Fiona smiled as she worked. His hair smelled strongly of the floral shampoo, and she couldn't help thinking how soft and manageable it had become. Be a good boy and let me try something, she said. Carrie chuckled when she unexpectedly referred to herself as Mommy. Sure, Mommy. Both of them laughed. Fiona carefully parted his hair and gathered it into sections. Before Carrie realized what she was doing, she had tied it back neatly. Meanwhile, she handed him a list. I need you to help around the house while I'm gone. Carrie glanced at the chores and nodded. Then Fiona picked up a pink apron. His expression immediately fell. Mom, do I really have to wear that? Yes. It's embarrassing. It's to protect your clothes while you work. Seeing her tired expression, Carrie felt guilty for arguing. Sorry, that's better. She slipped the apron over his head and tied the ribbons behind his back. The bow was large and decorative, taking much longer to fasten than necessary. When she finally stepped away, the apron draped almost like a dress. There, Fiona said proudly. After giving him a quick hug, she grabbed her bag and headed out the door. The moment she left, Carrie hurried to a mirror. His heart sank. The apron covered most of his body, and his hair had been styled in a way that made him look far more feminine than he was comfortable with. Small pink ribbons held everything in place. He immediately tried removing them. The ribbons were tied tightly. When he finally pulled one free, a few strands of hair came with it. The second was even worse. Frustrated, he turned his attention to the apron. Unfortunately, the knot Fiona had tied was impossible to reach properly. Every attempt only tightened it further. Eventually, he gave up and collapsed onto the bed. Then an idea occurred to him. Maybe if he ruined the apron, she wouldn't make him wear it again. With renewed determination, he marched into the kitchen and picked up the chore list. The tasks were simple enough. Clean the kitchen, start the laundry, prepare dinner ingredients, and vacuum the house. As he worked, however, his anger gradually faded. The apron was annoying, but it wasn't the end of the world. By lunchtime, he was concentrating more on finishing the chores than on what he was wearing. Everything changed when the doorbell rang. Carrie froze. He walked to the front door and opened it. Standing there was Faye, his neighbor and friend. Her eyes immediately widened. Carrie. He already knew what she had noticed. Yes, I know. You're wearing a pink apron. It's for chores, he said quickly. Faye stepped inside, clearly amused. You actually look kind of cute, Carrie groaned. Please don't start. She laughed but softened when she noticed his expression. I'm sorry. I heard about your dad. Carrie nodded quietly. Things were still difficult. Faye offered a sympathetic smile. Maybe I can help. The shop where I work might need someone part-time. Really?
Sure.
What kind of shop is it? Faye grinned mysteriously. Let's just say it specializes in clothing. Carrie suddenly had a feeling that whatever came next was going to complicate his life even further. Then you shouldn't complain about wearing that friendship bracelet I've been trying to get you to wear, Faye said with a grin as she glanced at Carrie's wrist. Before he could answer, she spun around and hurried toward the door. I'll be right back. Wait, Carrie called after her. The front door had already slammed shut. He sighed. Chasing after her wasn't an option while he was still dressed in the long pink apron. Instead, he returned to his chores and began sorting the clean laundry into neat piles. Only a few minutes later, the door burst open again. Faye practically bounced into the room. I got it. She held up a delicate white bracelet decorated with lace and tiny decorative flowers. Carrie eyed it skeptically. Do I really have to wear that? Of course. That's what friends do. Before he could argue further, she took his hand and slipped the bracelet over his wrist. It settled snugly against his skin. Carrie looked down at it. Against the backdrop of the pink apron, it looked surprisingly natural. There, Faye said proudly.
See?
That wasn't so terrible. Carrie reluctantly nodded. I suppose not. Faye gave him a playful pat on the cheek. Her eyes then drifted toward the nearby table. What's that? Carrie followed her gaze. The 2 pink ribbons he had removed earlier were still lying there. Faye picked one up. Oh, I see what happened. Somebody didn't bother untying them. Carrie immediately looked embarrassed. Mom put them in this morning. And then you pulled them out? He nodded. I was angry. Faye examined the ribbons thoughtfully. You know she's probably going to notice. I know. And she'll probably be upset. I know that too. Carrie rubbed the back of his neck. Things have already been difficult since Dad left. I don't want to make things worse. Faye smiled. Then let me fix them. Carrie groaned. Faye, come on. I don't want to look cute. I'm not trying to make you look cute. You always say that. Because it's true. After several seconds of hesitation, Carrie finally surrendered.
Fine.
Just the ponytails.
Deal.
Faye guided him toward a chair and began brushing his hair. The brush moved slowly through the soft strands. Carrie hated admitting it, but it felt relaxing. The gentle tug of the brush and the light pressure against his scalp made it difficult to stay annoyed. Soon the 2 ponytails had been recreated exactly as before. Faye carefully tied each ribbon into place. There, she announced. Carrie glanced at his reflection. Faye immediately smiled. You look just like a girl named Carrie. The moment the words left her mouth, she covered her mouth. Oops. Carrie frowned. That's not helping. Sorry. He stared at himself in the mirror. I really do look different. Only because you're not used to seeing yourself like that. Carrie wasn't convinced. The apron, the ribbons, the bracelet, it all felt strangely unfamiliar. Trying to change the subject, he asked, Mom said she was bringing home a surprise. What do you think it is? I don't know. Can I stay and see? I guess so. Carrie shrugged. Maybe it's just new clothes. Most of mine are getting too small anyway. Faye suddenly snapped her fingers. I have an idea. Carrie immediately became suspicious.
No.
But I haven't even said it yet. No. Just a tiny bit of makeup. Absolutely not. Just for fun.
No.
Please. Carrie rolled his eyes. You're impossible. And, after several minutes of relentless persuasion, Carrie finally gave in.
Fine.
But only a little. Faye practically cheered. Let's go. A short time later, Carrie found himself seated in front of Fiona's dressing table. Faye worked carefully. First, she tidied a few stray hairs around his eyebrows. Then came a small amount of eyebrow pencil. A touch of mascara followed. A little blush. A little eyeshadow. Finally, a soft pink lipstick. When she finished, she stepped back to admire her work. There. Carrie slowly looked into the mirror. The person staring back looked startlingly different. The changes were subtle. Nothing was dramatic. Yet somehow the overall effect transformed his appearance completely. "You look amazing," Faye said. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "Because now I'm confused." Faye sat beside him. "You're overthinking it." "Maybe." Carrie stared at his reflection. He wasn't sure what bothered him more, how different he looked or the fact that he hadn't stopped any of it. Before he could say anything else, a voice came from the doorway. "Well, well." Both of them turned. Fiona stood there carrying several shopping bags. Her eyes widened with delight. "Oh my goodness." Carrie immediately stood. "Mom, I can explain." "Explain what?" Fiona laughed softly. "You look wonderful." Faye beamed.
See?
"I told you." Carrie wished the floor would swallow him whole. Instead, Fiona crossed the room and placed the shopping bags onto the bed. "I brought something special." She sounded excited. Curiosity overcame Carrie's embarrassment. "What is it?" "Open them." Slowly, he lifted the first bag. Inside were several packages of colorful underwear. Pastel shades of pink, blue, yellow, and lavender peeked through the packaging. Decorative trim lined the edges. Faye gasped dramatically. "Oh, those are adorable." Carrie simply stared. Fiona smiled. "Since money is tight, I picked up some new essentials." Before Carrie could respond, she opened another bag. More clothing appeared, then another, and another. Soon the bed was covered with neatly folded garments. Carrie looked from the clothes to his mother. His mind struggled to process everything at once. The room suddenly felt very small. Fiona, meanwhile, appeared delighted with her purchases. Faye was equally fascinated. Only Carrie remained frozen in place, wondering how an ordinary day of chores had somehow turned into something far more complicated than he had ever imagined.